Hi there, my name's Emma and welcome to my first technique tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to make a dahlia flower fold embellishment. Now I think these make perfect centerpieces for the centre of greetings cards. However, you can also use them for scrapbooking and other paper crafts too. So without further ado, I'm going to show you how to put these together. The first piece I have here, I've got a large circle. Now these lines are to show you where to make the folds and how to make each petal. Each dahlia is made out of 8 petals. So we fold across, make it into a perfect semicircle, then we unfold that and we fold down at perfect right angles to where we just made that. So you need to make those two vertical lines marry up. Then we unfold that. Now that leaves us with a perfect cross, perfect right angles, and these are going to be our guidelines. So the first fold we need to make is from the bottom point here to the guideline at the side here, and that's where you make that fold. So I'm going to fold that in, and there's your first fold there. Again at the bottom, index finger at the bottom, folding up to the side where you've got your guideline, and you fold that section in there. That leaves you almost with like a diamond shape at the bottom. What we're going to do is flip that over, and then we want these straight edges that we've just made to be folded into the centre guideline that we've just made here. So that's how you make these fold lines. So I'm going to fold that one in to meet in the middle, and then we fold this one in again to meet in the middle. And that is how you make a dahlia petal. Now if I just bring in some pre-made petals that I've got here, I'm just going to show you how to fit all these pieces together. What I would recommend is using a wet glue, maybe PVA, or if you want some dimension, perhaps some silicone glue or pin flare, and that will give you a bit of extra dimension. The reason I say use a wet glue is because you want a glue that's going to give you a little bit of wiggle room so that you can get your placement just perfect. Now my last petal I'm just going to put together. The reason I've left this one out is I want to show you that you can skip that horizontal fold. Now if I just take my piece here, I mean that fold there, when you fold those in, the reason I like to skip that bit is you can see it leaves you with slight lines, slight marks on the sides here. Now I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you are completely confident that you can make accurate folds without needing that guideline there. If you're new to this and this is the first time that you've made a dahlia, certainly put in that horizontal fold as a guide, and then from thereafter, if you feel comfortable doing it, you can take that fold out. So that's what I've done on this one. I folded in half and I've unfolded, and I'm leaving myself with just the one guideline fold. And then what I do, index finger at the bottom, and I'm looking for a halfway point, and I'm estimating that, and I'm going to fold. And there's the first fold. Again, index finger at the bottom, find the halfway point and fold that in. As before, we turn this piece over, and what we want to do is fold these straight lines in to meet in the middle where we've got our vertical fold. So we fold in there and we fold in here. Now I must confess, of course, that this was a pre-folded piece that I've made for the sake of demonstration. What I would say is when putting these together, use a bone folder or something similar, and that will mean you get a nice crisp edge, which makes all the difference to the finished piece. So I'm just going to slot that in. Now the way to think of this is like the segments of an orange. I feel that if you view it that way, then you can see how this all fits together. And that is how you make the dahlia. However, we're not stuck to just making dahlias with this technique. So if I take these dark pieces out here, and I'll show you, what you can also make is a different type of flower called a convolvulus. Now it may not be totally obvious at the moment, but if I bring this piece in here, this card, you can see that what I've done is put 2 petals together at the top here and 1 petal there. I've made stems out of punched hearts, and these leaves I've made out of the same circle punch that I made the petals with, but I've double punched to make the leaf shape. Also, you can make butterflies. Now I think the best way to do these is have the 2 bottom petals nearer at this bit here than they are at the top. So you want them wider apart at the top than at the bottom. And again, a good example, if I move that up, is this card here. And what I've done with this one is I've put gems in to make the antennae and the butterfly trail, and I've punched out 3 small circles, stuck them together, and I've used that to make the body of the butterfly. Again, however, you're not just stuck to making these 2 items either. With the flower fold technique with dahlias, you can assemble them together slightly differently. This one, I've got 9 petals together. What I've done is if I take another demonstration piece here, you may be able to tell the difference. And then I've made these diagonal folds go up more than halfway. So when I fold this in, and I fold that in, as before, flip it over, fold to meet in the middle, and again fold to meet in the middle. Exact same technique as before, as you can see. However, I'm left with a slightly narrower wedge, or a narrower orange segment. So this one here is a perfect 45 degrees. However, if you play with the technique slightly, you can end up with narrower segments. That's what I've done with this piece here. 9 petals made from scalloped punches this time. I've inked the edges slightly, and that gives you a slightly different effect. And lastly, with this fold here, this dahlia here, I've used 10 ovals. It's the exact same technique as before. However, what I've used this time is 10 smaller ovals rather than the 8 slightly larger circles, and that gives you slightly longer, thinner petals. So effectively we have the same sort of dahlia, but this one has more petals in it. So what I would say with this technique is practice, practice, practice. Once you know what you're doing, they're terribly easy to make, and as you can see, there's all kinds of things that you can make with them. To follow this, there will be project tutorials for all the cards that you've seen in my demonstration today. I hope you found it useful, and I hopefully speak to you soon.